Hello and welcome. My name is Tara, and I'm going to be talking about self-awareness leading us to self-actualization and then eventually transcendence. If you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there are different stages of our evolutionary process, if you will. And these are all aspects that we will generally experience in our lifetime, depending on where we are within our own personal journey and within our personal evolutionary process. When we go through the stages of self-development and personal awareness, greater awareness, expanding our consciousness, then we start to increase our awareness and eventually move up into a greater level of self-actualization. Now, what is self-actualization? Self-actualization is a term describing one's full potential, both in terms of personal growth and achieving one's full potential gifts and talents. It's all about reaching our best version of ourselves in all areas of our lives, tapping into our uniqueness, tapping into our true authentic self. And when we move out of these old paradigms within ourselves, our old matrix, our old understandings of ourselves that have been built from a construct of our early life and from societal impacts, influences from our family influences, from cultural influences, when we break through the barriers, we start to understand more and more about who we truly are. And we can further our growth and evolution towards self-actualization. Now, it wasn't until later dates that the Maslow's hierarchy of needs was split at the very top, where self-actualization is, into two sections. So the most current model has self-actualization at the top, but it's divided into two. And at the very top is transcendence. And transcendence is truly rising to a higher state of consciousness, expansion, awareness into that 5D consciousness that we're talking about, or I've been talking about. I'm sure you've heard a lot of other people talking about it as well. And if you're new to this channel and you don't know what 5D consciousness is, this is the evolutionary process that we are currently experiencing. There is a new ability for us to experience, tap into, explore, and move towards, which is that 5D consciousness. It's when we get to let go of time, of pressures, of expectation, of judgment, of criticism, of blame, of shame, of fear, all the lower densities, the negativities that we are used to, these energies that come from a lower density experience that are very limiting, very restrictive, and very unhealthy. Now, when we start to work on ourselves, when we go through the process of self-discovery and personal spiritual development, we also start to become more confident with who we are, and we look at challenges in a different light. We also start to move towards challenges rather than fear them, and rather than avoiding changes within ourselves that we may need to face or that we may need to overcome. So the more effort that you put into yourself, the more self-actualization that you start to create within yourself or that you experience, the greater confidence you will have to overcome your challenges. And this is a process. We all come from different stories. We all have different journeys. But if you are working on your path towards greater awareness, greater change, then you're definitely going to hit those moments where you look at fear differently. You're going to look at challenges differently and start to build a greater self-confidence around overcoming those challenges and difficulties. Accountability leads to greater self-actualization and greater awareness. When we mess up, we all do, we're human. When we mess up, when we might hurt someone, when we might do something that may cause an issue of some sort, when we are accountable and when we own it, and when we can self-reflect and observe our actions and behaviors, then we create greater awareness and greater ability to heal relationships, greater ability to go within, to self-regulate and fix what we need to fix within ourselves, greater awareness to be aware of our actions, simply being aware of what we're saying, of what we're doing, and the choices that we make. Also, awareness of one's actions, awareness of our actions, of our behaviors, what we do, what we say. It follows under accountability as well, but it is the awareness factor is crucial. And the more aware that we are around our behaviors, even our triggers, sometimes we can respond to certain situations very quickly without even realizing it, or fall into negative thoughts or patterns without even realizing it, or become very comfortable and realizing it, but then accepting it as it is, when we deserve better and we can have better. The awareness factor, no matter what, is the crucial aspect. When we are aware, then the next step is going into the why. Why am I feeling like this? Why am I acting like this? Why am I reacting this way? When things like triggers come in, or when actions are taken in haste and almost like a reflex, in a reflex action, it is coming from an unconscious place. It's coming from our shadow. It's coming from a place that we can't really see. We may be used to operating a certain way. We may be used to acting a certain way, or feeling a certain way, or interacting with the world a certain way, or even acting towards ourselves, what we do to ourselves. If we go to food choices, or even numbing out, or substances, or self-harm in any kind of way, or isolation, that is unconscious pattern. It's an unconscious pattern that we have embedded deep within ourselves, in our subconscious. So it's really important to be aware of, what are my go-to actions? What is unconscious, a pattern that I've become comfortable with, that has become very habitual. Sometimes we can't even see it because we're so used to it. And what is conscious? What can I be aware of? What can I control? Emotions, thoughts especially. And how can I change them? How can I let them go and not give into those energies or actions moving further? So the awareness of self breaks into these categories. Thoughts, what am I thinking of? Why am I putting too much thought into a certain area of my life? Overthinking, ruminating, giving way too much energy to one specific area of life, or many different areas of life that doesn't really deserve our energy to that level. Am I ruminating? Am I overthinking? Am I being too analytical around something? Am I being a perfectionist around something? Am I being too critical around something? Am I being judgmental around a certain area? All of these come in as very heavy mental activities that can be very unconscious. So be aware of the mind, how much energy your mind is using. Our mind uses so much energy throughout a given day. And the more energy that we can bring into constructive application, constructive thoughts, constructive use, then we're going to create more. We're going to have the ability to create more and to free up our mind and to free up our energy for greater things. When we are really dialed into overthinking situations, stress, worry, anxiety, doubt, criticism, judgment, whatever this is, when we're looking too much into the outwardly environment and picking on certain areas of our life, if we're overthinking a situation, maybe a breakup or someone who done us wrong, then we're giving our energy away constantly to areas that really don't deserve our energy, or is not worth our thinking, processing. Situations that we overthink are either done and in the past, and they don't deserve our time because it doesn't exist. Situations in the past are done. They're done. They're in the past for a reason. We need to let go of them. But also situations that we might find ourselves processing over and over and over again, it's unnecessary processing. When we tap into our inner guidance system, we just know. We just know. But our old subconscious programming and our old wounds and traumas do get in the way of that. So again, this is not an overnight thing. It is constant awareness, and over time, yes, things will change. Also, the feelings and emotions. Feelings and emotions are two different things, but they're tied together. Feelings are a way of processing life, how I feel about certain situations, processing ourselves, how we interact and how we respond to life situations. Our senses, our feelings, those are such important aspects to ourselves for our intuition, for our guidance system, for our feelings, how we respond, how we feel through certain situations. It is such a beautiful, beautiful and valuable aspect of our being that usually does get swept aside because our mind does take control and we do tend to live in a logical world. Our emotions and our feelings and our senses is our navigational system. So our emotions is the reaction, our emotional action, if you will. You know, the sadness, the happiness, the excitement, the elation. The feelings is more of the senses, how I feel about something. The emotion is almost the action of it. So again, the self-awareness around these aspects is crucial for understanding, for interpreting the world, to use our intuition, to use our inner guidance system. The other one is body awareness. This is a big one, and this is one that I've really been focusing on for the last 3 years especially. Now, when we have gone through trauma and early life difficulties, and quite frankly, it goes back to what I say, we live in a very logical world, we live in a very systematic world, we lose touch with our bodies. And this is quite common, right? So we think that if we have a headache, well, I just have a headache, so I'll take some medication. Or if I have a stomach ache, I have a stomach ache, I guess I'll take medication. Our body is constantly communicating with us, and there's a reason for the aches and the pains and the diseases and illnesses that we encounter. A lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it is created through our mind, through unresolved traumas, through the energy that we have within ourselves. And the more aware that we can be with our body, the greater ability we have to self-regulate and to heal ourselves. And the last one is accepting our shadow. Accepting the areas about ourselves that we may feel uncomfortable with, that we may feel are unacceptable in society, that we may have hidden and repressed and suppressed deep within. We all have the shadow. The shadow holds traits and aspects within ourselves that we may feel uncomfortable with, that we may have held back or we may have locked behind us and not want to face. But again, the greater awareness that we can create, the greater understanding we will have of those qualities within ourselves. Then we accept them. Then we can integrate them by learning through them. And again, that self-regulation is key, being aware of how we are reacting and being gentle with ourselves. We are all going through this. We all have our shadow aspect. And the shadow aspect of ourselves individually contributes to the collective shadow. So if we are all working unconsciously or operating unconsciously in the world, then we're all triggering one another, and we are just going to continue this perpetual downward spiral until we look within. Every one of us on this planet has a responsibility, and that is to own their shadow, to understand it, and to be empathetic around it. Not to look at ourselves as flawed and wrong and evil and bad. And if we've expressed our shadow, maybe in childhood or in early life, we could have been punished, we could have been criticized, we could have been blamed, we could have been judged or shamed. Our society is not built to support our flaws. It rewards good behavior. So if someone acts out, they get punished for it, or they get shamed, or people point their fingers at that person. But guess what? When we suppress it, when we don't want to show our true selves, or when we repress it, or when we hide it, then the addictions kick in. Then the self-numbing kicks in. Then the diseases and the aches and the pains kick in because we are not honoring our true self. We're not going through the process of healing. We're not going through the process of self-actualization. And then also we go into the world and we might project our energy towards other people or towards our outer environment. And we're all connected at the end of the day. We all feel energy. We all respond to energy. And if we meet someone in our day, and I'm sure you've experienced this as well, someone who is angry or someone who is really going through a bad day, their energy does affect us, probably has affected you. I sure feel it. We are at a crucial time right now where we need to own our shadow. We need to create the awareness. We need to create empathy and compassion around ourselves and around other people. So as I mentioned, this is a process. This is a very crucial time that we're in. This is around our self-journey, our internal journey. But remember, we are all connected, and our energy and our actions do affect the outer world in some kind of way. Our actions create some kind of consequence in the outer world, if it is going to be a negative consequence or a positive consequence. So we always need to be aware. And as I mentioned before as well, be gentle with yourself through the process. Do not be hard on yourself if you fall into anger, if you fall into resentment or guilt or shame. Just observe and be aware. And the more awareness you have, the easier it will be to let that go and to not respond to difficult situations in the same manner. It will change as you move along through this process. All right, so I hope this video found you when you need it the most. I'm wishing you all the best throughout your transformative journey and beyond. Until next time, I will be seeing you very soon. Take care.